Joe Burrow, who goes up against a pretty vulnerable Titans pass defense.
Yeah, and by the way, is getting Jamar Chase back, as we talked about last segment as well. The expectation is Kelsey Conway, who covers the team for the Bengals, reporting that Joe Burrow expects Jamar Chase back. And by the way, even without Jamar Chase, they've been great since the Chase injury. Bengals top 10 in passing rate. They've become a throwing team. He's averaging 19.8 fantasy points per game over that stretch. He's top 5 in both passing yards per game as well. And then you talk about this Tennessee Titans defense, the number 1 run defense in the NFL, but you can throw on them. I mean, right? I mean, the Titans are one of the worst pass defenses in the NFL over the last 4 weeks. They're a bottom 5 pass defense, and yet they're the number 2 rush defense against running backs. So given the fact that who knows if Joe Mixon's going to play in this game as we have this broadcast on Wednesday, we don't know yet. We do know that Joe Burrow's going to play, and we think he's getting Jamar Chase back. So as you see there on your screen, what the last 4 quarterbacks have done against the Titans, Russell Wilson had 286 yards against them. Davis Mills had 152 yards against them, which is good for Davis Mills. Even Aaron Rodgers threw 2 touchdowns against them, So, and of course, Mahomes had that monster game on Sunday night against them. So, I think Joe Burrow. I know a lot of people think, the Titans are a really good defense, and they are a really good defense. But he makes the love list because he comes in at number 6. And that was, honestly, I had him on the love list before I knew he was getting Jamar Chase back.
I have a theory about this game, which is that the Tennessee run defense is so good, it's actually going to hurt them in this game, because the way to beat the Bengals is to Jedi mind trick them into running the ball for 3 yards per carry, and they're not going to be able to run the ball, so they're going to be throwing. And
right.
That pass
Zach
defense.
Taylor loves 3 yards in a cloud of dust.
Loves it like he loves stuffing on Thanksgiving.
Exactly. Even though he's got Chase and Higgins and Boyd and Hayden Hurst and,
Christian Fulton makes me very nervous at corner, so I think they'll be able to throw there. Let's talk about Geno Smith, frequent guest on the love list.
Let's talk about Geno Smith.
With a very favorable matchup against the Las Vegas Raiders. Don't understand why that line is only Seattle minus 3.5 at home. They should blow out the Raiders, and Geno should benefit.
7 of the 10 quarterbacks that have faced the Raiders this year, Jay, to your point, have scored at least 18 fantasy points. The Raiders are bad. Right, hashtag analysis.
Call by you, Matthew Berry.
Hashtag analysis. A lot of people are like, why I like Berry? Because he really breaks it down. He gets under the numbers. He gets
Raiders,
deep.
Not good.
Raiders are not good. They're bad. You know who else thinks that? Jeff Saturday. Remember when he tweeted that?
Yeah.
And then he beat him the next week? That's an all-time baller move.
Yeah.
You're on your couch and you're like, the Raiders look terrible. Yeah. And then the next week you're on an NFL sideline beating them?
Yeah.
That's a baller move.
And that's when you knew that the Raiders, they didn't have much going on. If they couldn't get up for that and win that game at home.
At any rate, Geno Smith, has had multiple touchdowns in 4 straight games in 8 of the 10 games so far this year. He actually is getting a few points with his legs, at least 20 rushing yards in 5 of the past 7, including each of the last 3 games that Geno has played. And so, against Las Vegas, who allows the 3rd most fantasy points per game to opposing quarterbacks, he comes in as a top 8 play for me this week.
Yep.
And I like your call as well. I think the Seattle Seahawks cover in a big way.
I'd be very surprised if that line closes 3.5. I think it should be more 4.5 or 5. Let's get to some others receiving votes, including the maybe rejuvenated Tom Brady.
Yeah, in the last 2 years when he's come off of a bye, since he's joined the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, he's had multiple touchdown passes. And you like this matchup with Cleveland, as over the last 4 weeks, the Browns are bottom 8 in yards per pass attempt allowed, touchdown rate allowed. Brady looked pretty good in Germany. They've had a week to sort of get everyone back. He's going to have Godwin in this game. He's going to have Evans in this game. We expect Julio Jones hasn't gotten hurt over the bye. You never know. But, an increase in Rachaad White, who's a nice pass catcher as well. And so, at Cleveland, I have him at QB 11. Even if it's bad weather in Cleveland or windy, that doesn't affect Tom as much, who likes to dump it off as well. Some guys receiving votes is in that same game, Jacoby Brissett against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Over 20 fantasy points is what he's averaging over his last 3 games. 3 straight games with 6 or more carries. He's actually involved in the running game. And this is the last hurrah for Jacoby Brissett, because we know in Week 13, Deshaun Watson comes back as well. And as much as I love talking up my Commanders.
Marcus Mariota.
Yeah, look, it's too good. I've seen the end of this movie. Anytime you start feeling good as a Commanders fan, that's when the bottom gets pulled out. That's when Lucy pulls the football away and you Charlie Brown it and you fall on your back. And so, defense is playing good. Here comes a weak Falcons team. Games at home in Washington. We're 4.5-point favorites. This is just the kind of game we would blow. this is just the kind of game that the Commanders would totally screw up. And so Marcus Mariota will probably make it closer than it should be. He's had at least 17 fantasy points in 5 of the past 7. The rushing is obviously what keeps his floor high.
Yep, I'm with you. I just think you're a week early. I think the pain comes against the Giants the week after. You're going to be favorites on the road to New York. At least that's what the look headline is now.
Right.
Let's get to...
just because pain happens in a week doesn't mean it won't happen now either.
True. You can have 2 servings of pain.
Oh,
to go with your turkey.
Yeah.
Let's go to the hate list.
I've had 20 years of it as a Commanders fan.
Let's go to the hate list. Kirk Cousins is the headliner, 3-point favorite over the Patriots. I don't agree with that line. I think the Patriots, that game should be pick, and he's on your hate list. Going against the Pats defense, which has an argument that it could be the best in the league right now.
Yeah, and primetime Kirk. I mean, honestly, my argument is primetime Kirk, right? It's a tough matchup to begin with, and then primetime Kirk. This is the Thursday night game. This is on NBC and Peacock. Of course, I'm a company man. Shout out to my guys, Tony Dungy and Jason Garrett. Yep. We're doing the color commentary for this game, so I'm excited for that, along with Mike Tirico. So much love to my guys there. I hope they crush it. I know they will. I don't think Kirk Cousins is going to crush it as well. I do these Barry boosts on BetMGM, where it's a 1-game parlay that you can play and use promo code Barry, by the way, at BetMGM. Get a risk-free bet up to $1,000. Risk-free first bet, I should say, up to $1,000. And so the Patriots are second in pressure rate so far this year. You think about Kirk Cousins, who was pressured on over 50% of his dropbacks last week. He was sacked 7 times by the Cowboys as well. The only quarterback to score over 17 fantasy points against the Patriots this year, Lamar Jackson, Justin Fields. And both those guys had 80 rushing yards and a rushing touchdown in their games. We don't expect that from Kirk Cousins. The 4th fewest passing yards per game this season goes to the New England Patriots here. And again, primetime Kirk. I think they'll take away Justin Jefferson. I don't know that they're going to have enough weapons to come away with it. I have Kirk outside my top 20 this week. And then Aaron Rodgers as well at Philadelphia, an angry Eagles team. Eagles have allowed the fewest fantasy points per game to opposing quarterbacks this season. Only 2 quarterbacks have scored over 12 fantasy points against Philadelphia. They allowed the fewest yards per pass attempt, the 2nd fewest passing yards per game. Aaron Rodgers has been, to be kind, inconsistent this year from a fantasy perspective. Eagles know they have to step it up. This game's in Philadelphia. Also outside my top 20, A-Rod.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.